Amendment by Goodwin.
Chair recognizes Ms. Goodwin on her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The cruelty of regimes, massacres, and genocides are atrocious, and our students ought to know that we must strive to never repeat them. However, the political ideological spectrum spans from communism to fascism. If we ask our students to understand the ideological and political motivations behind the genocides carried out by communists, we must also ensure they understand the atrocities committed by fascist regimes, those that operated under the banners of extreme nationalism, racial supremacy, and totalitarian control. Ignoring one side of the spectrum while scrutinizing the other creates an incomplete and potentially misleading historical education. Our responsibility is to equip students with the full truth so they may recognize the dangers of all forms of authoritarianism, no matter where they fall on the ideological spectrum, and uphold the values of human dignity, democracy, and freedom for future generations. I move adoption.
Members, Ms. Goodwin, Chair recognizes Mr. Leach to speak against the amendment.
Sure. I'm going to move to table, and the reason is because I want to send this bill to the governor's desk as quick as possible. You want to bring a bill opposing fascism and teaching our kids about the history and horrors of fascism, I would gladly sign on to that, but I don't want this bill to become a Christmas tree. This bill is about communism alone, and so I'm asking you to stick with me and table this amendment.
Chair recognizes Ms. Goodwin to close.
Members, it's truly important to show all sides of an issue and to make sure our students understand not just communism, but fascism as well, to understand what that has done to other countries, but to also to talk to them about the genocide of Jewish, Romani, and even LGBTQ plus people, of political opponents, people with disabilities, all of the minority and ethnic groups that have faced atrocities. We should make sure our students understand all of these things.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Rodriguez-Ramos, for what purpose?
will the gentlelady yield for some
The lady
questions?
yield for questions.
Yes.
Lady yields.
Thank you, Representative Goodwin. We just spoke about, you're talking about fascism and the millions of Jews and Polish. We're talking about 11 million people, right, who died. You're referencing specifically World War II and fascism and how it also impacted, or did it impact Americans as well?
Yes.
And are you aware that there are different key steps or indicators that are very relevant to these times to talk about fascism, like one of the steps or one of the factors of fascism is exploiting national crisis and discontent. Were you aware that that is part of fascist movements?
Absolutely, and I think what's so important about teaching history is that then we can recognize when those things are happening in the current day.
Yes, and is it your understanding that it's important to educate children, because another factor about fascism, because one of the other indicators is cultivating an us versus them mentality. Were you aware that that is also part of the fascist movement?
Absolutely. People were divided, just like we see sometimes here in the United States, where we make others seem different and fearful, and students, when they learn about the history, they're more likely to recognize indicators here at home.
Very good. And are you aware that another of the indicators, something that is important to us as a democracy, is discrediting democratic institutions, criticizing the democratic process, calling them inefficient or corrupt? Were you aware that that's also one of the other indicators?
Yes, absolutely. And you know, today we have a lot of criticism of our higher education, and it's really unfortunate, but it is repeating a pattern.
Yes, and were you aware, do you agree that one of the other indicators is suppressing dissent and freedom of speech? Is that something important for our children to understand as an indicator of fascism?
Absolutely. You know, sowing distrust among the media, that was something that happened in fascist regimes, and sometimes we see that here.
Were you aware that a part of the other thing to build a fascism government is, and what fascist regimes establish strong, centralized control, consolidating the power of the government in the hands of a few people? Do you agree that that's another indicator important for our children to know about fascism?
Yes, absolutely.
Were you aware that fascists use propaganda and manipulation and to control those governments? And that's something that was also an indicator that happened during the Nazi regime.
Yes.
And lastly, were you aware that fascist governments use violence and repression, something that is really close to home here in America?
Yes, you make so many good points, and these are really critical things for our students to understand.
Thank you very much. I think it's a great amendment. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Bryant, for what purpose?
will the general person yield?
Lady, you for questions.
Yes.
Lady yields.
Ms. Goodwin, communism made its debut in 1917 in Russia, is that correct?
I believe so.
And we saw the devastation ultimately that was caused by that for about the next 75 years, isn't that correct?
Yes.
But Russia today, the very same country that was once communist, is now fascist, is it not?
Yes.
And Putin is a fascist, correct?
Excuse me?
Putin,
Oh, Putin. Yes.
is a fascist authoritarian leader
Yes.
in the same country where communism began, right?
Right.
So the complete picture is communism and fascism.
That's right.
And every other type of authoritarian regime that may pop up in between. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, and that's why I believe the bill as it stands really is incomplete. It's giving our students an incomplete picture, and that's why I filed this amendment.
Thank you.
Move adoption.
Ms. Goodwin sends up an amendment. Mr. Leach moves to table. The question is on the motion to table. If you are in favor of the amendment, vote no on the motion to table. If you're opposed to the amendment, vote yes on the motion to table. A record vote has been requested. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Leach voting aye, Ms. Goodwin voting no. Show Mr. Harless voting aye, Mr. King voting aye, Mr. Hayes voting aye. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? There being 88 ayes, 50 nays, the motion to table prevails. The following amendment, the clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment by Hinojosa.